Hey everybody, yes, welcome back to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by the great Chris Schaefer. Chris, before we get into today's episode, just so you know, because I don't think you listen back to the episodes, but I interact with our great sound engineer and producer, Rachel, and we go back and forth on things I cut out every week. Last week, when I said probably the worst insult I can say about you to your face, I took that out about the number one thing you pride yourself on in life. I don't know why I said it, and so I took it out. And then our listener, Rob, our great listener, Rob from Australia, just so you know, buddy, I just savaged you for like 10 minutes straight.
You took that out?
I took it completely out. I was like, it's out of line. I don't know how we'll take it. I don't want him to be upset. It's hard. Who knows if he'll take it. So Rob, man, we were talking about you last week. It had to do with your comment on Chris's Twitter post on the Rocky Mountains, but it was real funny. But I was like, man. And so anyway, Chris, Rob, thanks for listening. Love you. And you dodged one. And like I always say, Rob is one of those listeners where if he travels across the world, shows up at my house, needs somewhere to stay, I would think about it. I'm not saying yes, but I would think about it. It's one of those I would think about it for because he's been a long time listener. But Chris, I was going back through YouTube and our old episodes and looking at some of the old episodes and some of the things I used to say to you and in general. And then now I feel bad and I take stuff out of the episodes and it's times have changed. What do the people want? I don't know what they want.
It's the wussification of the Paid Search Podcast. I mean, you go back and listen to the old stuff, and you wonder, how is Chris sticking around? This is very abusive, and now
I just call you the great Chris.
Now we're worried. Now you're worried about my feelings and other people's feelings. I remember when you would yell at our listeners, and we would call them names and stuff. And so I think we need to get back to.
The problem is, Chris, I don't know if I can be the man that they want me to be anymore. Wow. I just don't know if I have that eye of the tiger anymore. But
you got too much heart now.
I don't know. I think I've changed, but change is good. So anyway, let's get into today's episode. Yeah. We're not finishing. We're midway through the trapdoor series. Midway, We're dodging these trapdoors. And we're telling people how to watch out for these issues. So, Chris, tell us about today's sponsor, and then we'll get into the review of the week.
Yeah, guys. This week, I have saved a lot of time on my clients' accounts and coming up with new ideas because I've been using Optio. Optio.com/PSP, and you can get a 6-week trial. And listen, this is what you can do with it. You're grinding on your campaigns every day, coming up with new keywords, new ad copy, new things to try. You got to be fresh. You got to keep it real. And you get stale. You can't, you're staring at the same numbers every day and you don't know where to go. Optio.com/PSP, and it will give you those fresh ideas. It will provide them for you, not just on the screen, but ding, in your inbox. You get fresh ideas delivered to you to tell you what's going on, new stuff to try, new suggestions. It's a great system. I think that all of our listeners should certainly give it a try for 6 weeks, and I think you'll like it. I like it. Jason likes it. We both have used it, and we recommend it. Optio.com/PSP. Opteo.com/PSP.
Thank you, Chris. And I want to read this week's iTunes review of the week. We get iTunes reviews from all over the globe. This one comes from the United States of America from Brett. Brett is our listener from Delaware, Chris, who wrote in a few times, and we based a couple episodes off his question. So he's the unofficial producer. And he writes in 5 stars. I attribute much of my success to this podcast. Hey, everyone, by the way, so is Chris.
That's good. Because I was a complete failure for, 6 years of my life until I met you? Is that the story?
No, honestly, it's not. And this is just what I'm talking about. I just don't have that bone in my body anymore. Like, no, you were
I
the
know.
man, dude. You were the top of the mountain. You were top of the freelancing mountain. I looked up to you. I looked up to everything you did. I reached out to you because you were great, and I wanted to just be in your presence,
That
and that's
is
the
true.
truth.
That's
And if
true. I
anybody
was
owes,
happy in
owes
my
their success to this podcast, it's me, because you are great to
so
work with.
so I'm like the Rapunzel that let down my hair and let you into my ivory tower. That's what I think happened there. Please continue with the review.
I just don't know what happened to me, dude. I don't want to be this soft.
Wussification. The wussification of the PSP. It's sad.
I love. Brett says, "I love what Chris Schaefer and you know what? People always say your name first, and they
Yeah,
used to bug me, and I don't even mind anymore. It's like,
that's
man,
right.
let's
That's
all just
called.
can't we all just get along? Can't we all just love each other?"
Oh my goodness. Okay, now you're gonna make me mad. You start talking like
I
that.
love what Chris Schaefer and Jason Rothman are doing for the paid search community. With every episode comes an opportunity to obtain more knowledge in regards to paid search. They even played my voicemails on 2 separate episodes. Not only have I learned new paid search tricks, I have also become better at speaking about the paid search by listening to them. I would gladly assume the position. Many thanks. Oh, I left something out. Hold on. I would gladly assume the position as unofficial official producer. Many thanks, Brett. Brett, thank you for the review. The reason we love that you guys leave those reviews is because I think it's a very simple thing with iTunes. The more reviews they see, the more they know a show's doing something right, and they
Hmm.
bump you up in the rankings. And one day, we're getting close, but one day we're going to be in that top 200 on Business iTunes podcast, and people are going to be able to go to the Apple Podcast app, go to the business section, and see us in the top 200. So we appreciate those reviews. Now, Chris, we're continuing our Trapdoor series, and today we're talking about overthinking your Google Ads strategies and mistakes that come from that. And interestingly enough, Chris, we have a listener question from Hal, and I put it in here, and his question actually leads to overthinking. And I think I'm going to add it to our list of overthinking trapdoors. And I'm just going to put it down here so I remind myself. And it is too much research. So let me read this to you, Chris, and then we'll just go right into overthinking and we'll get your take on this too much research thing. So let me read this. Hal says, "Hi, Jason and Chris. I just became a Patreon supporter. And everyone, Patreon is where we charge a whopping $2 a month and give you a new extra bonus show after the show every week. You can find it on our website, the link to Patreon. Thank you for becoming my friends in LA traffic and playing a definite role in my professional Google Ads development. You definitely deserve more Patreon supporters. All the people who have benefited from your material would benefit from considering sharing $2 to $4 a month to support your valuable work. Once I reflected on the value you have given me, I had to opt in. Feel free to share that on the air." So, Hal, thank you for that message, and I did share it on the air. So then Hal writes in with this question. And the question is basically he is researching two potential clients, Chris, um, and he's looking up projected search impressions, and I'm just going to extrapolate that to projected data. And he says, "I called in with the question along the lines of, how do I know if the projected search impressions are accurate and high enough to justify running a Google Ads campaign?" And he's researching for two specific clients, a video production freelancer and then a psychologist. And he's looking at the search impression shares with the keyword planner, and he's putting in those keywords as broad match, and he needs to know, like, okay, is this enough to show up? um, is it enough to take on these clients, or am I going to start running ads and there's not going to be any search volume and I shouldn't have taken on these clients or told them that Google Ads would be a good fit? And so that goes directly into overthinking Google Ads now and doing too much research. So let's talk about research, Chris. Obviously, it's good to do research, but it can be a bit of a trapdoor because you can overdo it. And so here's the biggest hurdle you and I deal with this show. Obviously, if someone told me they had a psychologist as a business, or a client and they want me to manage it, I would do it 100% because I know people search for that. But the reason I know that is because my experience, and you have the same kind of built up experience. But say you didn't have that experience, and someone was coming to you with a video production business or a psychologist counseling office they wanted to advertise for. Are you going to just take those on, or are you going to do research in the keyword planner and try to figure out how much people are searching for those things? What do people do, and how do they not overdo the research and like what's going on? How much research do people do?
So you're talking about
I'm
doing
talking about
research.
you get a new you either own or you either run a therapist's office or you have one coming to you as a client wanting to advertise with you, and either as the therapist owner, office owner yourself, or as you as the freelancer they're coming to, the question is, should I advertise on Google? Are enough people searching for my topic in search that I'm going to be able to spend 300 a month, 500 a month, 1,000 a month or more? And I think the trap door to this is you can overdo the research, and really when you look at anything too much, it doesn't look pretty, and you may miss out on opportunities to get more business for your own business if you're running ads yourself, or get more clients if you're advertising. But that said, you don't want to take on something like um, peanut butter massage therapist and someone who
Right.
only gives massage with peanut butter, because no one's searching for that except Chris on the weekends. But no one's searching for that. So research does play a role, but you can overdo it. What does that line look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, assuming I have no experience in the industry,
Yeah.
I mean, the only research that I honestly care about is the research to tell me how people look for things around that topic. So I've worked with plenty of clients that introduced me to things that I had no idea even existed. I think about
You especially,
one
man. You
client.
seem to get these
Yeah,
very niche businesses.
I found this one industry that they helped companies to operate and manage a software system to help them work on government contracts, and it helps to tabulate these certain points that government contracts have to hit in order to maintain success. That's how Google, or it's how the government decides, whether you're hitting goals or not. And it was so confusing. But in the end, I didn't do a bunch of search to find out how much volume there was. My research was merely just to find out how people searched for it. I mean, I didn't really care about the numbers. It's just I'm looking for these little things like you talk about all the time. The related searches at the bottom of Google.com. Things that just tell me, hey, they search for this, but did you know they also search for this term, which is a little bit different? It's a different rewording of it, or a little bit a synonym for that same kind of thing, or an abbreviation. They don't search for this whole word; they search for an abbreviation because they're in the industry and they know what they're looking for. So that's what I'm usually looking for. It's my thoughts on research and doing too much research and overthinking your strategy is essentially you talk yourself out of something. You
Yeah.
start looking, just like you said, if you start looking too closely at something, you essentially start to realize, oh, I don't like any of this. This seems way off. I'm not going to do it at all. And now you come up with, you know, 3 keywords that you like. You have no traffic, you have no data to work with, and you've talked yourself out of 90% of the traffic. And where are you going to go from there? You're going to have to back up and start going super wide again. So
Yeah.
most of my thought on, pre-launch research is just give me an idea about where to test first, and then I'll let the data tell me whether it's successful or not.
Yeah, I think a couple things come to mind. So number one, if someone's coming to you and wanting to pay you money to run their ads, it means their business is making money. And if their business is making money, it means they're offering
Mhm.
something people want. And if people want something, they're searching for it to some extent. So
That's a
that's a
good point.
positive sign. And if that's happening, I don't think the question is, are people searching for this? I think the question is, how are they searching for this? And that's what Chris was just getting to. Like, you got to figure out how. But leave an open mind, keep an open mind, just jump in. Don't overdo the research. Jump in and start finding ways people are searching for it. Another tip is to ask the client or ask yourself as a business owner, how would they search for their service? And they may
Mhm.
not tell you the exact way that people are searching for it, but it's at least a way to get you started with your keyword research and typing things in Google, see related searches. The one caveat here, and why research is good, and it's the mistake is possibly overdoing it. That's a trap door. But research, of course, is good, is kind of a gut feel about a business. So like, or a quote unquote business. So I've had people that want to advertise with me that came up with a PDF informational product guide that they were selling to a specific part of the restaurant industry. And that was one where I was like, okay, I'm like, I don't even know how I would start searching for this if I was interested in the product. They could not tell me how people would search for it. It was way, way too niche and way, way too made up out of thin air. No one had asked for that. Whereas
Mhm.
people are asking for video production services, people are asking for therapy services, but they're not asking for how do I run a very, very, very particular kind of restaurant better. Like, and I don't want to just read free articles on the internet. I want to pay $500 to a guru for a informational product. No one's doing that search. That's not a real demand. So that's my one kind of research gut feel, seeing if it's a real business, basically.
Yeah. I'll tell you that when I first got into Google Ads, I'll tell you the biggest disappointment for me when, because I work with a lot of B2B, business to business is a lot of what I do. So a lot of times I really want people who are searching for X expert or X professional or X consultant, right? They want a professional consultant expert around some specific topic. My biggest disappointment jumping into Google Ads and realizing people don't search for that. And that was probably that's one of the most disappointing things because I wish more people did searches around, you know, lawn care consultant, lawn care professional, you know, something like that. Instead, they just search things like lawn care company or lawn care, right? That's what they search for, and that that was that's a setback for me that I've had to work around because I have to figure out instead of searching professional or expert or consultant, I have to figure out what other terms represent that and find those terminologies. So in the end, if you research and research and research, you'll end up picking that word like professional and consultant and expert, and you'll get no traffic and you'll just be frustrated. So I'll save you the time. You're going to have to start wide. You're going to have to get out from behind the overthinking your strategy and start with a guess. That's what I call the first part of launching a Google Ads campaign. It's the guess. You start with a guess and then you move into the optimization after you've guessed about the keywords. So trapdoor number one, this won't be a surprise to listeners that have been around for a while, but Jason and I agree that when it comes down to it, SKAGS, for the purpose of doing SKAGS, is a trapdoor. It's a failure waiting to happen because if you build a campaign merely for the fact that you just want to do it as a SKAGS, a single keyword ad group, SKAG. If you want to do a single keyword ad group and you want to have 400 ad groups and every ad group has one keyword in it and you want to do it because you think that format is the best way to do it simply because you're of that mindset and you have no backing to prove that it works well for you, that's overthinking. That's out strategizing your own campaign, and it's a trapdoor.
And Chris, that's not to say you and I have never run an ad group with one keyword in it. So say you're running for
Sure.
one of these lawn care businesses and you do find people that search maybe 5 times a month in an entire metro, uh, landscape specialist, lawn care consultant. Say the word lawn care consultant or landscape consultant. You might love that keyword so much and it might be so different than the other stuff you're getting high volume with. You might throw it in its own ad group with a matching ad, and that would be the only keyword in that ad group. but your whole account isn't full of only single keyword ad groups, and it's overthinking it. It you SKAGs are like they look pretty at the start. Everything that's why people do them, because they look pretty. You think about things. You're like, okay, I think about it. I can see it in my head. The linear, it's like linear. It's just boom, 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 boom. Ad groups, one keyword per ad group. It looks good. You start talking yourself into it. Yeah, every ad's going to match the search exactly. That's what people want. I'm going to give it to them, and it's going to be super clean to manage because it's only one keyword in that ad group I have to focus on. But that's not what ends up happening, Chris. What ends up happening is you come up with great ad copy ideas, and then you have to go through 200 ad groups where 90% of them don't even have more than 5 impressions that month and edit the ads. Or you're trying to figure out which ad copy is going to get a good click-through rate, and your 500 impressions that month, or say your 2,000 impressions that month, instead of being split across 4 ad groups and you're getting a lot of data on those ads, they're split across 200 ad groups or 100. And no ad group has more than 30 impressions, and you can't judge the results of the ads. Or you find a great new search term and it can reasonably fit inside of 7 ad groups, and you don't know which one to put it in. And or making a new ad group every time you have a new search term. That sounds like hell on earth. And what it's going to do is you're not going to add as many new keywords as you should, because it slows you down. And that it just it's, and by the way, Chris, it's not what Google Ads is set up for. It's kind of like making the system trip on itself even more and more as we get into this kind of
Yeah.
smarter but looser world where
It's
Google loosens things up because their systems are getting smarter.
Yeah. I mean, these phrase match keywords were, when I used to do training, I could say very clearly, cut and dry, phrase match means that the words inside of the quotes must be in that order and it must contain all of those words. That's the way I used to do training whenever I did consulting with people. That's what I said, and I could leave it at that. Now I've had to add another caveat to that to say it means that, but in reality, Google could switch the order around and they could replace a completely different word with another one. They could have, they could have something with an ing drop and it not have the ing at the end, or it could be a misspelling, or it could be a different order of the words. So, yeah, I mean, suddenly now SKAGS is crippled. I mean, suddenly it's difficult to use, but you would have to use extensive negative keywords in order to accomplish, a clean, true SKAG system. And I'll tell you, talk about overthinking things, hitting go on a brand new campaign with like 2,000 negative keywords. I mean, that just sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, and by the way, the time it takes you to build a SKAG, and I know there's shortcuts out there and all that kind of stuff, but it's like the time it takes you. Chris and I are already up and running for 3 days, finding new search
Yeah,
terms that come in
good point.
and
Yeah.
getting clients leads. So, Chris, another overthinking mistake is putting all your eggs in one basket. And so, a couple of examples I have, Chris. I'll start with the first one: call only. Sometimes call only works awesome. And this is ads on mobile. The phone number shows up at the top of the ad instead of a headline. And the only thing people can do is click to have a pop-up come up that says, do you want to call this business? And then hopefully click yes on, do you want to call this business? But it's click to call. All they can do is click to call you. Sometimes it works awesome. And what happens is when it does work awesome, you kind of get in the mindset of, oh, I want to do call only. And that's putting all your eggs in one basket. And what happens is it works, but what are you giving up by turning off desktop and taking people to a page? What are you losing by not running on the nights and weekends when the business can't answer phone calls? What are you losing by not running remarketing and growing your brand? And it's a loss that you don't really see because you're focused on one egg in the basket. But another thing that can happen, Chris, is what happens if call only stops working so good? What happens if other people come into the market and bump up the cost per click where it's prohibitive? What happens if someone else bids a ton and you can't get into those top 3 positions and you stop getting calls? What happens if your client's business starts failing at intake and stops? Maybe they're just getting so busy that they start missing a lot of calls, and lead forms would actually serve them better because they would get those lead forms and follow up with the client when they're settled and actually in the office and ready to follow up. So that's the trap door of putting all your eggs in one basket. So that's call only. I know you had an example of like demographics, and maybe for 2 weeks or a month, something is working really, really good with an age or gender. And then so you lock it down, but then it can go wrong. So like, give me an example of how like you've kind of, or someone could over put all their eggs in one basket with demographics.
Yeah, I had a high-end salon, and we were doing really well, and I was using audiences and I was using demographics to a small scale. I had like a 20% bid increase on like females that were within the age of X and Y, and also I had some demographics if they were in a zip code that they had a high income zip code. And I kept getting really good conversion rates on these. And what I ended up doing was, over time, months and months and months, I started eliminating and dropping bids on these other ones more and more and more, to the point where I had like negative 80% on some of these and then a really high bid on others. And it was really starting to shift the whole thing. And then I can go back in the history of this campaign and look for, a couple months, we were just dragging bottom. The campaigns were dropping. More and more conversions every week. And I'm like, gosh, I'm pushing harder. I'm finding new keywords. I'm having to increase the bids. I don't understand. We have a super high search impression share. And I don't understand why I had like a 90% search impression share. And then I go in and look, and what I had eventually done was I had blocked all other age groups, which made my impression share really high because now I have 10% of my audience that I'm showing to. I had blocked all the others. I had blocked males completely. So that was another at least 40, 30% of the traffic that was completely blocked. And what I did is I just went back and wiped that whole thing clean. I said, all right, oh, so sorry. I've completely overthought my strategy. I wiped all my demographics, all of my audience stuff completely clean, let it run fresh again. And guess what? Conversion starts going up. It was a typical case of overthinking who my audience is and trying to outdo performance by micromanaging my demographics, my audiences, stuff like that.
Did you want to talk about not overthinking and being a great advertiser? I have a fantastic client. They're a concrete business, and our relationship is concrete. Like, they trust me. And I trust them. And so it's the kind of deal where, like, if they send in an email that's like, hey, things feel slow over the last 2 weeks, what's going on? Or do you have any input? It's like trust. It's not an accusation. They're not saying they're going to fire me because things aren't as good for 2 weeks as they were for the last 2 years. And I'm able to respond to them because it's a very open relationship. Like, hey, you know what? We tried something the last 2 weeks. We're not seeing it work either, and we're in the process of reversing it. So we can tell them when we make a mistake. And so anyway, in terms of not over managing it, listen to this, Chris. Get an email from them a couple weeks ago, and they talked about how the last few weeks had been the slowest they can remember. The phone is just not ringing. And they go, anything you can look at. And we give them our response, like, okay, we found this, this, and that. We had this broad match modified keyword. We turned it off because the cost per conversion was high. But you know what? There was actually a ton of conversions coming in from it when we looked over the long term. So we're going to turn that back on. We think that's going to help. And so we responded with that. And then they said, okay, that sounds like a good plan. And by the way, they're not located where I am. It's like way far away. They said, it's been raining very, very much here for the last 2 years. And I guess when it's raining, people aren't doing construction. They're not pouring concrete. Mm-hmm. And they were like, it's been raining, and that could be what it is. And what kind of AdWords advertiser or specialist, Chris, talks about the rain? Like, instead of just over analyzing the account and going, maybe it's male, maybe it's female, maybe it's mobile device or desktop and all this kind of stuff. What are our search terms? Like, no, maybe it's just raining and it's been quiet. And even though people still do those searches, they're just not calling in because business is just depressed for a couple of weeks. Well, the rain went away, and then we're getting like back to the conversions we were getting. So that was just a great example of restraint, of not overthinking it, of just going, maybe it's just the rain. Let's see what happens when it stops raining. And it picked right back up. So that was just an example of not overthinking it. But Chris, going back to putting all your eggs in one basket, it can happen with keyword strategy too. Like, I know a lot of different industries, and for an example, the moving industry, office moves are generally more money than residential moves because they're businesses, they're sometimes larger, it's more complex. And so I've had people that go, you know what, I only want to do office moves. And then they get like 1 click a day and one conversion a week. And a conversion is not new business, it's a lead. So people who want to kind of turn off a total part of their business. I had another one with injury lawyers, Chris. They wanted to turn off all accident keywords and focus on injury keywords, personal injury lawyer versus car accident lawyer, because the personal injury lawyers keywords tend to be a little cheaper because car accidents are more valuable. And if someone's searching exactly about a car accident, it's probably more valuable. Well, that was stupid because it's still expensive and our volume dropped by a ton. And what we should have done, what they should have done is say, instead of just overthinking it and turning everything off, how about you just try to lower the bids on that one topic for a while and see? So overthinking, you can really, really screw yourself. Now, another one where you can totally have a trapdoor and really, really screw up search is trying to educate your audience. And Chris, you want to talk about overthinking? Like I take myself as a smart person, high IQ, and I'll leave it at that, and we'll stay humble. But I take myself as a smart person, and you want to talk, and I'm a thinker. I think a lot, but you want to talk about the people who think about educating their audience with search ads and the scheming they come up with in their mind. That's way more thinking than I've ever done in my life. So why don't you tell people what educating an audience is specifically through search?
This educating an audience is something I run across often in a conversation with a client where we are brainstorming and they're spitballing ideas. And this is usually when I hear it. They say, hey, I'm a plumber and I need, to find people and the cost per click for hire a plumber or 24/7 plumber, that's way too high. I can't afford that. Instead, what if, Chris, I just had this amazing idea while I was eating lunch. What if we advertised broken toilet or how to fix a toilet or something like that? Where it's not the funnel they want, it's the next funnel over, right? It's people who have not made the decision to hire a plumber. They're DIYers, and you're going to try and convince them to hire a plumber. This, in theory, sounds like a great idea. But the thing about search, the thing that's so different from Google search versus Facebook is when people go do a search, that's what they want. If they take the time to say how to fix a toilet, a plunger not working or toilet clogged, that's what they're looking for. You're not going to convince them to eat something, to eat an apple when they're looking for an orange. They're looking for an orange. That's what they want. They don't want to hire a plumber because they know a plumber is going to cost them $180 for something that could be very stupid. They just want to watch a YouTube video about how to do it because it's just a small problem. That's where I often run into it. And there's so many possibilities on this. And let me explain why. So I explained the fact that conversions will be very low. Clicks will happen. You'll get clicks because people will not read the ad copy. They will click the ad. Do not make the mistake of assuming that because you put hire a plumber, $180 per hour, that they'll say, oh, no, I want a DIY I won't click that. No, they will click. They will click and they'll hit the back button, and you will spend $15 for that wasted click. Okay, so don't assume that they won't click. Number two, the thing is you'll get a huge amount of traffic. That's the other thing, is because when you go into if your small funnel is not working, people aren't searching for it much, and you jump into another funnel that's wider, much bigger, has a much wider search, suddenly now you're going to spend more money. You're going to get lower conversion rates. You're going to get less qualified traffic, and that's lose lose. You're getting more traffic and it's converting less. I mean, that's the worst position to be in. So, and that's where I often see it. I mean, Jason, I know you I'm sure you've had plenty of conversations where clients have had a light bulb go off and they say, I got an idea. I'm going to run this by you.
And I say, I'm going to run. But Chris, not only do people want exactly what they're searching for, and if they're searching for something in the funnel, they're not looking for the next funnel over. Not only is that what they want exactly what they're searching for, that's what they've been given by Google for, I guess, near 2 decades now, or coming up on 2 decades. That's what they've been given. That's what they expect. That's what they're trained to know they're going to get. So you throw something in the mix there, people are just passing you by. People are clicking on your ads. When they go to the site and it's not what they wanted, they're going back to Google and they're going, that was weird. And then they're getting their whatever they were looking for served up to them with other people's ads that are spot on, or the organic results, which are usually basically spot on. So that's what people have been given. And those tidal wave of searches, they're just going to run over you. And no one cares about you and your business and your wallet. You're just going to be screwed. So the idea of educating your audience through search, you should just forget about it. Forget about it. And I don't remember exactly what this dental procedure was called, but a dentist I was working with, they had some kind of procedure or some kind of business model that was new and innovative, and it was for people getting dental implants. And so they wanted to show up on dental implant searches and kind of train people that this new procedure or new model way of doing it was an option. And of course it didn't work. And so educating people through search, that's not the way to do it. But Chris, you can educate people through online marketing strategies, including within a Google Ads account, that don't have to do with search. So an example of this is remarketing. So in this case, what I would have done if I was this dentist and making all the decisions is I would have generated a remarketing list for people who viewed either blog pages on my website that had implant in the URL, or my implant service page, or this new innovative service page. Create a dental implant remarketing list, and then fire off display ads to that remarketing list telling them about your new service. And by the way, if they see your display ad and read about your new service and don't click on it, you got the message across and it didn't cost you anything because they didn't click. And by the way, if they click, okay, they're on your website, which is good, and they clicked after seeing a display ad, which means they read it to some extent probably. And by the way, you're out 20 cents. So, and not $21 for a dental implant click on search. So display is a way to do it. You can do it through remarketing list. Chris, we did that with the Patreon. When we launched Patreon, I changed out our remarketing ads from just regular Paid Search Podcast ads to Paid Search Podcast Patreon ads to educate our remarketing list that we had launched a Patreon show, and it worked. People told me that they signed up directly from seeing those ads. And then you can play around with the keyword contextual. You can put in keywords of like dental implant, or show up on topics, pages about whatever your industry is, and educate people through display. And then of course, YouTube videos and all that visual takes it one step further. So there's plenty of ways to educate, and definitely don't do it through search because it's probably not going to work out, and it's going to spend you a lot of money. Now, Chris, I think we're going to close out here with a bang. Master planned community. So let me briefly tell you what this is to me, and then I want to know if you've run into this with your own clients. So I wrote down some strong language in our production sheet here, and I'm going to have to edit this out as I read it because it fires me up. It's very annoying, Chris. A master plan community. So what I take that in my mind, that's like these 2,000 home builder areas where they plan out all the homes, all the faucets and doorknobs in every single home, the layout of the streets, the pipes for the water and electricity, where the post office will go, where the bank will go, where the fast food will go, where the grocery center. It's master planned, and that's great in the real estate world. But in Google Ads, it's just the worst thing you can do. So what I mean by master plan, Chris, is people who come to the table before they ever start running a campaign with an entire list of keywords, with an entire list of different landing pages, one for every keyword, with an entire, sometimes people get crazy with it. Like we've had this limousine service for, I'll leave it at that, a limousine service. And they wanted to target like 1 mile around 50 specific places across the US and have one campaign for each one, and then have ads in that one campaign that talk about that area. And that's before, sure, we're 10 years in. We're constantly adding, trying things out and seeing what works and then drilling down on it. I get it. But starting out day one, 50 campaigns, 1 mile radiuses each. That's what I call master plan, where everything, so we want the call outs to be this and this 1 mile radius, and then on and on and on. So have you run into these master plan community clients where we really are talking 20, 50 campaigns before we even start?
Yeah. Absolutely. I want to talk because I absolutely agree with you. And instead of restating what you talked about, I want to talk about master plan, not because the fault of the client, not because the client's the one pushing you to do it, but because you, the manager, you, the one making the decisions yourself, you outthink your whole system. You overplan, poorly strategize, and think that you're smart, your research is smarter than reality. And you basically force your own hand by doing days and days of research. You pull in their analytics metrics. You go and buy industry information. You go and buy third-party information about leads and what people are interested in and demographics and audiences. And then you go do a keyword planner and you get 600 keywords and you start mapping those out into different categories. And you have so much, and what you've ended up basically forcing yourself to do is build a master plan community, because you have all this information and you're now going to need 5 campaigns that are going to cover this specific area because your data tells you that people in these zip codes are more valuable. And then you're going to have to make sure you cover these keywords, but these keywords need to be in a much wider geo because they're not going to get as much traffic. So you need to cover a couple states with this one. And then there's other information about the West Coast during the winter months do a lot better. So you're going to need to focus on that. So you have to have campaigns. It's ridiculous. I mean, there's absolutely no reason to do that. You put so much time into it. I put it in the same type of idea as skagging, just because you want to skag. You're basically just building this master plan community because it looks impressive. You have too much data you're working with. You have no practical reason to know that it's going to succeed for you. Just because you look up industry information and you use Keyword Planner for 3 hours straight, it doesn't mean anything because every business is different. And the question I always, when I get real with a client, this is what I say. I say, okay, George, are you the same as your competitor? And they say, oh, no, we do this and, we do this different and, we're unique because of this. I said, okay, if you're not the same as them, why would we copy all this information from all these other competitors to decide who your clients are? Maybe your clients aren't necessarily exactly the same. Why are we going to use this information to decide what's going to be success for you? Let's lay out a framework. Let's start and see where successes are, then knock down all other stuff that doesn't work and push on the stuff that does. That's what works well. You're not going to run into any traffic jams because you accidentally put your main thoroughfare right next to your Walmart, and now nobody can get to their house because you screw up your master community. That's Absolutely. I think this is a huge trapdoor.
Chris,
And the funny thing is, most
yeah.
people push their own button on this trapdoor. They literally say, I just built this beautiful sandcastle. Then they put, oh, what's this little trapdoor button? And it's gone.
I've never had a master plan community client that starts with a master plan on day one, continue on AdWords. It's never worked.
That's a good point.
It's never worked. And you can build a master plan community, but it needs to be through actually seeing things work and sticking with the campaign for years, and you can make it more and more intricate. But Chris, I had one where a person was selling an education software to schools. And so we literally had like over 100 campaigns, each one targeting a 1 mile radius around these schools or these offices where people make decisions for schools, like government offices, and hoping that they would search for those keywords. And,
oh gosh.
And of course it didn't work out.
No.
But you know what? It's like, if you're getting that specific, like you've got two choices, like either have good keywords run across the entire country, and maybe when one of those administrators is at home searching for that kind of product, you're going to be there. Or maybe when thousands of them are on home or on lunch, or maybe they're in the office as well. But you'll get to a lot of people, and if you have good keywords, you can get good traffic. But if you're going to get that specific with locations and stuff, why don't you just pick up the phone and do some direct sales? You know what I mean? Like if you're pinpointed that deep into knowing who your buyers are, just pick up the phone and call somebody. And it's like, again, it's overthinking it, trying to use it for something it's not. So Chris, I think we've covered our overthinking trap doors, and we want to emphasize, as always, this is the trapdoor series. We're not saying a SKAG has never worked. We're not saying educating never works, because we're saying it does. It works for sure, but use it on display. We're not saying eggs in a basket is a necessarily bad thing if it's working, but this is the way it can not work if you forget about everything else and then it stops working. The master plan communities, they're awesome. Great, intricate AdWords campaigns and accounts are awesome, but they have to be there because things were proven and earned and learned, and you can't really do that on day one. So it's a trapdoor. You can really trip over yourself if you're not thinking through these things correctly and overdoing it. So this was the overthinking trapdoors episode. And Chris, why don't you tell us about today's sponsor, and then I have a little paid search trivia for you. Then we're going to jump into Patreon.
Okay. Yeah. Guys, it takes a lot of time to manage Google Ads campaigns, and you can get stuff done faster, and you can get creative and not have to dig down and come up with new master plan community ad groups that are going to be confusing and failures. You can get creative while being practical with Optio.com. You can try it out free for 6 weeks. And this is an extended trial. This is something just for our listeners. Check it out, opteo.com/PSP. Sign up for the free trial. Hey, if anything, let's get real. If anything, you just listened to almost an hour of us helping you with your Google Ads. Do us a favor now. We're not asking for money. We're just saying, hey, go try our sponsor out, because it lets them know that they're advertising on the best PPC show out there. So that's important for us. Even if you don't necessarily think you'll use the tool, we want you to try it because, hey, you might love it and it helps your favorite show. So thanks for doing that. opteo.com/PSP. So now we're going to move into the trivia. It's my turn to answer a question. Jason, always creative with his questions, and I'm sure you've been up all night thinking about this one. And then after that, if you've paid your $2 for the month, you can listen to Jason and I talk about a little more behind the scenes stuff. We literally just jump straight into the show, and then we hold our chats, our behind the scene chat about what we did this week and how business is going and what the industry is like and stuff like that. That's what we do in the Patreon show. $2 to listen, $4 to watch. Go check it out. Paidsearchpodcast.com has the link. Jason, the floor is yours.
Okay, Chris, true or false? when you are looking at the placements where your display ad showed up,
Oh boy.
YouTube videos, the apps, or the websites where your placement showed up. Let's specifically website.
Okay, website. Gotcha.
Because I don't think this applies to apps.
Okay.
It might, but let's talk about websites because I prefer websites most of the time. I'm open-minded to mobile app, but we'll see. So, Chris, when you're looking at the website placements where your ads showed up, display ads, the placements where your display ad showed up, and it tells you the website under placements where your ad showed up. True or false? You are able to see the specific page on the website where your display ad showed up, not just the website. True or false?
Oh, Jason. Oh gosh, it's so I could spend so much time pretending that I don't know this answer when I actually do. And you hit the checkbox and then you click details and the answer is true. Yes, you can see it.
Wrong.
Thank you and have a nice day. What? That's ball? No, that's true. It's absolutely true.
No, you highlight the website and then you click view details. You said details.
Oh God. Okay.
Fine. All right. Let me take it one further because I have not worked on a display campaign contextual in a while, but I want to start. I'm doing it for myself currently, and I want to take it one step further and refresh my memory because I do have known this, but it's also been a while, so I want to get this right. So yes, you do click on the website, you highlight it, and then so I have one that says Fox News. That's where our ad showed up. All it says, it says Fox News, and it's a YouTube channel. It says Fox News YouTube channel. Then I click View Details. And under the placement, it says Pence, Trump has forged good relationship with China. So just like on a website, it tells you the exact page when you click view details. On YouTube, it tells you the exact video on that channel. So my question for you is, let's stay off of YouTube for a second because, well, let's do it on both. Chris, say I get a website and I look at the website and I see the exact web page, the article, say on a news site that my ad showed up on. Can I copy that link and then paste it under ad placements manually and target just that specific article on like only that article? And then same with the YouTube. Can I just target that one YouTube video on the Fox News channel? I think yes.
I think the answer is yes, but I mean, I don't necessarily know for sure because I don't do it. I mean, it seems kind of ridiculous to target a specific page.
Well, the way I've done it, Chris, in the past, and I do think you can do it again, it's just been a while, is I found a great like New York Times article that was talking specifically about the industry I wanted to target with my ads. And so, of course, I'm not going to run a placement on New York Times if I'm talking about just one industry because it's so broad. But that one specific article looked like a great placement. So I added it. So I'm pretty sure you can. But again, it's been a while since I've done a deep dive like this. So I think in a coming weeks, maybe like a display placement super detailed deep dive episode would be a good road to go down. So we'll dive into that. But Chris, you got the question right. When you are looking at your placements and it says website or YouTube channel, you can highlight it and then click view details, not details. View details, and then you will be able to see the exact website page, the exact page on the website, or the exact YouTube video on that channel that where your ad showed up. So I think that is a great way to end the show. So Chris, thank you for playing today's game. I serve up the easier questions. I would say that, but I'm sure you're going to destroy me next week with just a really, it's not that you ask hard questions, you ask very deceptive questions with the way you word things. You're a very deceptive person. So
true false is like the hardest. I hate when I had a true false question in college, it was the ones I dreaded the most because all it takes is one word and the entire thing is false. And it's terrifying. You really have to know your details for true or false.
Yeah. So. Chris, you're actually not a deceptive person. You're very cut and dry, cut to the point, very straightforward. I have to ask you though, so be truthful with me. We put
Uh-oh.
Amazon affiliate links out there when we link to a product sometimes. And like recently, we were linking to Fred Valet's book, which we recommend, about artificial intelligence. So recently I was getting on the Amazon account and I was looking
Uh-oh.
if people had bought the book. And yeah, we sold some books for Fred. It was nice. But we sold some other products, and you're able to see what people buy, not the people themselves, but what products are sold when people click your affiliate link. So we sold some artificial intelligence books, but we also sold some very like plain, cheap, but quality, like Hanes polo shirts. And based on what I'm looking at you wear today and pretty much every day we do this, I thought, is that Chris? So were you buying any polo shirts on Amazon recently?
No, I buy my plain cheap polo shirts in store. I don't
What
trust.
stores?
I don't know. My wife usually just brings home some because she's like, okay, those are done. Those look horrible, and here's some new ones for you. So
Nice.
no.
You know what I think would
No.
explode your business? Why don't you do like a vlog series, like clothes shopping with Chris Schaefer, and like
What?
your wife can do the video. You don't have
2-minute videos.
no.
You 2 minutes.
Your wife can hold the video, and you can walk into the store together, like whatever store you're going to. Like, kind of seem like a Kohl's guy.
No, it would be like it'd be 2 minutes of me saying, here's one, and then her saying, why don't you try that one, and say, no, get it, we're going to buy it now, I'm tired. That's it.
I know, but it's a vlog series for your business, so you could mix in like some Google AdWords talk. So you could walk out of the dressing room trying on a shirt that was like obviously the wrong size and way too tight, and showing your wife and be like, how does this look? And she's like, I think it's a little too tight. We should try the large instead of the medium. And you'd be like, well, yeah, I'll try that on. But first I want to tell everyone about search terms. And you could just be standing there in a tight shirt in an Academy Sports and Outdoor fitting room, trying on a Nike fitted shirt, and be like, this is what a search term is, guys. You don't think that would do well for your business?
I will tell you, in Patreon, what I've been considering doing.
Okay.
As a new YouTube channel. You're going to be shocked.
As a YouTube channel.
As a YouTube channel, like starting a YouTube or a new my own. No, you have your own. Why can't I have my own, jerk? Hey, no, it's for me.
Okay.
I'll tell you about it in Patreon.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week with the next final episode in the Trapdoor series. And then we got some interesting things after that we were breaking down today. But we want to thank you for listening. Please share the show. Please leave a review on iTunes. Please leave us a like on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube as well. And support Optio, our sponsors. And we thank you guys for listening. And we'll see you next week on the next episode of the Paid Search Podcast.